What's up, guys? This is Nick from Art City Poker, and in today's vlog, going to be continuing the How to Beat Live Low Stakes Poker series. Today, going to be talking PLO, and I'm pretty excited to do this vlog. I hope it gets a lot of good feedback and traffic so I can continue to make more videos, but PLO is definitely my favorite form of poker. I think it definitely has a ton of action and a lot of cool spots, and I think it's just so much different than No Limit Hold'em, and nothing against No Limit Hold'em, but this is just the game I prefer. So, for you guys that have only really played No Limit Hold'em or have only played PLO a few times or are wondering about this great game, then I'm going to try to give you just some real general and basic starting points to help you on the right path as far as improving at this game. And uh, so I guess we should start by saying, how does PLO really differ from No Limit Hold'em? Well, obviously you have four cards in your hand, but what this means in this game is that PLO is a post-flop game. It is a drawing game. In No Limit Hold'em, you are often pushing your equity pre-flop, pushing your edges pre-flop, I should say. But in PLO, your edges are not as big pre-flop. The equities of hands run so much closer together due to there being two extra cards in everybody's hand. Um, I, you know, Post flop in No Limit Hold'em, it's not so much about what your hand looks like by the river. A lot of hands are made up, with their equity pretty well on the flop already, and often the turn and river won't really change, the current nuts of the flop in No Limit Hold'em, where as in PLO, the turn and river are very, very often changing the what the current nuts are, and so it really matters what your hand looks like on a lot of board runouts. What does my hand look like on a lot of rivers is what you should be thinking. But to keep it a lot more simple and to let you guys just know what kind of hands you should be playing and how these games play, that's what this vlog is going to be for. So in PLO, before I get into anything, play in position. You should be playing in position most of the time in any form of poker, but in PLO, it is vital to learn how to play in position most of the time. It is such a hard game to play out of position. You will face many tough spots. Trust me on this. Try to play in position as much as possible. Now, how do live low stakes PLO games play? Well, many opponents that you'll be playing against will not really know what they're doing too well. They're going to play or be playing way too many hands pre-flop that set themselves up to get dominated post-flop. Now, if you're seeing nothing but multi-way pots post-flop pretty much, then obviously you're going to need much more absolute hand strength. It's going to be really hard to bluff four opponents off of a pot, especially when they all think they're drawing to many live outs, which usually they are not. So because every pot's going to be multi-way and because we need more absolute hand strength, obviously then we are going to need combos that have nuttish qualities to them. Let me start by saying that in PLO, the key to this game to playing good starting hands to set yourself up for really good post-flop situations in these types of games is that you really want all four of your cards to be working together somehow. It's very important. Now, what I mean by that is you can have, let's say you have like ace-ace. That's still a very good hand in PLO, but hopefully you have the other two cards working pretty well with that ace-ace. Now, obviously ace-ace king-10 is going to be much better than like ace-ace 7-deuce due to the fact that you can not only flop top set with ace-ace king-10, but you also can, flop Broadway with that pretty much. So, you want your four cards to be working together. Now, big pairs, as I said, will be very nice because you can overset opponents post-flop. So ace-ace, king-king, queen-queen. If you can get in there pretty cheap with kind of weaker combos of those hands, then that's totally fine in this game. The more connected and preferably suited your hand is, the better it'll be. So, for example, King, King, Jack 10 double suit will be much stronger than King, King, 8-3 rainbow. You can still play that King, King, 8-3 rainbow, but you probably want to get in there pretty cheap because you're really looking just to flop a set and overset somebody and stack them that way. You will not hit many flops that hard with that King 8-3 hand, but when you do hit, you have the ability to stack an opponent. So that's why that hand plays very well multi-way. So big pairs, obviously the more connected and the more suited, the better. Rundowns. If you guys aren't familiar with rundowns, ace, king, queen, jack, 10, 9, 8, 7. You can have gaps in them, such as 10, 9, 8, 6. If the gap is near the bottom, that's going to be better than if the gap is near the top of the hand. So if you have 10, 9, 8, 6, like I said, that's going to be much stronger than 10, 8, 7, 6 due to the gap at the top of that second hand. The reason for this is that if the gap's at the top of your hand, in these, in PLO, then you're often going to be making less nut straights. So that's the reason for that gap being so important. So rundowns work very well multi-way because often when you flop, straight draws, or if you flop like two pair, then you'll often have a straight draw to go with that. With these rundowns, you can often flop, wraps, obviously straights or straight draws that are more than 8 outs. Your opponents will often be playing hands that are not connected like this. So when you often flop, for example, like the same two pair, you will often have a redraw to the straight, whereas your opponent will not, and you'll basically be free rolling them and dominating them in that spot. So rundowns, preferably with no gaps and hopefully at least one suit, are very nice. Any connected pair hand that's at least, I would say something like 9, 8, 7, 7. Getting really any lower than that, you're starting to get a little bit weaker. But these hands, when they tend to flop well, they flop really well. So example, in like 7, 6 deuce with that hand, you're flopping not only top set, but also the top end of the open ender for your redraw. So I think you guys are starting to get the point of what I'm saying. You really want all 4 cards to work together. You would like to flop pretty well-made hands, but you also would like to have backup plans, basically redraws, hands that allow you to see the turn and river pretty profitably and easily. So I think that covers pretty much what I wanted to say about what types of hands you want to play. Before you enter any pot, just think to yourself, does this hand have nuttish qualities? Do I have nut suits? Do I have pairs that can overset people? Do I have a rundown that can make, a nut wrap? Or, put myself in a spot where, I have a nice 2 pair, but I also have some kind of nice straight redraw to go with it. So, like I said, obviously the bigger the pairs, the better. The bigger the rundowns, the better. And the bigger the connected pair hands are, the better. So just have nuttish qualities to your hands to start with, and you'll be putting yourself in a pretty good spot. The last thing that I'm going to talk about and basically end with for this very short and general PLO video is do not draw to the second nuts. If you're solely drawing to the second nuts in this game, you are wrong. King high flushes will not be good. Be careful about what kind of draws as far as straights are that you're drawing to, because you often could be drawing to a dominated wrap pretty much. So, there is a lot more as far as this game goes. There's a lot more topics that I can specifically get into, whether that is in theory or in practice, and whether that's pre-flop or post-flop. There's a ton to go over, but I think this is a good starting point for you guys. Play in position, play hands that have nuttish qualities to them, hands that can, hands that are made up of combos that can dominate your opponent's hands and draws post-flop. That's going to be very important in this game. You're going to need much more absolute hand strength because players just don't like to fold pre-flop in these games. And the way to maximize profit on them is just to dominate them in hand strength and with dominating draws post-flop. So if you guys have any questions or comments about this vlog, this topic, feel free to fire away. I love PLO and I love talking about this game, so I will try to do my best to respond as quickly and as efficiently as I can. If you guys want to see more PLO videos, like I said, on more specific concepts, then let me know, and I'll make as many as I can make for you guys, because I think it's important to try to grow and spread this game, especially in the United States, where I think it's severely lacking. So this is Nick from Arch City Poker. Till next time.